as we are talking about the population's composition, population rise, population decrease, all these things and its economic impact. So there remains a question that whether population increase is good or not. So population, whether population rise is good for development. Malthus, Thomas Malthus, he was a priest in 1798, just when this the industrial revolution is happening. During this industrial revolution, or just before industrial revolution, England was characterized with the similar situation with inadequate food and all, high mortality. Yeah. So he said that population growth is not good for the development. Yes, and this particular school, Malthusian school, is known as pessimist school. I'll just go to a different slide, and we'll say this debate of population growth versus development has basically three schools. The number one is pessimist. Second, optimist. Third, neutral. The pessimist says it's not good, negative. Optimist says positive. Neutral is 0, so they don't bother, right? So what this pessimist says, as Malthusian view, or Malthus, that industrial revolution is not good at all for the economy, and then there should be a check. And then he said, see why it's not good, the population growth is not good. He says why it is not good, because the population size increases in proper geometrical progression, in geometrical progression, while in the exponential rate, I will say in exponential rate, while food production increases in arithmetic progression. So what we see that over the time, or our food production will increase like this, and our population production, population growth will increase like this. So after a certain while, we may not have enough food and we have a shortage of food, and that's not good for the society, right? So so that's what he says, that we need to have checks. Now when he talk about the checks, he was as a priest, so he never supported this, and then back those ages he never supported this contraceptions and all. So he said there are two kinds of checks, one is positive check and one is negative check. Check is the ways to control the population size, the positive check and negative check. The positive checks are basically, the famines, wars, diseases, which will decrease the population, a lot of mortality, right? Whereas the negative checks are celibacy, delaying marriage, all these behavioral, but not contraception. Yes, so these are the positive checks are famine, war. This is celibacy, delayed marriage. And that is how they should control the population, and that is how they should decrease the, at least decrease the population size or fertility level. The mortality is also always very high at that time. So it's like the positive check, the negative check. The negative check is basically out of the moral restraint. So what the criticism says that this theory is too simplistic, and then it has not taken any scientific development in its under its consideration. So there comes the optimistic approach. The optimistic approach is led by the Bostrup, Esther Bostrup. in only 1965, and she says that necessity is the mother of invention. When we see the struggle, you know, that we don't have enough food, we will intervene, invention, yeah, we will intervene and we will invent something. So, and there comes the science. So then that's what happened in India as well during Green Revolution, after these famines and all, just after independence, Bengal famine, Bihar famine in 1960s, late 1960s and 1970s. We see that Green Revolution which increased the and then we saw white that's different. Anyways, we saw the Green Revolution, then that increased the productivity, the agricultural production by a large margin, you know, multiple folds. So, and then she discusses the technology. If you know the population is high and there is a requirement, people are, you know, intelligent, so they will bring in technology, and the technology will solve the problem. And based on the problem in a particular society, the intensity of new methods will be determined, that how intensive will it be. So again, the Bostrup's theory's first limitation or drawback was that it can only be adopted by a small community, and it can really, and every particular population has different ideologies, different level of development. So the invention capability is also limited in some population, and if there is an overpopulation, there is a chaos, and then the technology is a, you know, capital intensive, it can be capital intensive. So, and that technology, bringing the technology may also be challenged because of overpopulation. So there it has its own limitation, whereas, you know, the neutral view in Julian Simon, Ehrlich, Paul Ehrlich, they actually supported this Malthusian view, but at the same time they said that there is demographic dividend which can eventually help us. Some schools say, Rome schools and I mean Club of Rome say, they said that, you know, the resource utilization is a challenge because of these Club of Rome, yeah. Because of this current trend, if the resource utilization is not managed properly or regulated properly, that can create a havoc, and people may face, you know, the future generations may face heavy difficulty to find their own resources to survive. But at the same time, again, this technology may intervene and bring in a global equilibrium. So this is the neutral view which talks about both the positive side and then the negative side of this population growth. Now, we will basically we have been in this session have been discussing on the you know, the population and the population change, the composition, the population size, and its impact on development. Once we were discussing about this, you know, the population size and its demographic variables such as birth rate and death rate. So the once, you know, the death is a technology or the advancement, scientific advancements, but the birth is purely a rational behavior, or often irrational, but you know, that is in the back days. Today, with the awareness, with the understanding, birth rate, with the lower mortality rate, birth rate is a rational choice. Even in the lower level of development, birth rate can be a rational choice. Now the birth rate means the family size, yeah, can be a rational choice, and this rational choice are often because every individual is an economic agent, and an economic agent will be rational in nature, and then the fertility behavior of an individual or of a household, of a family, of a couple is directly associated with their economic aspirations, or you know, so they will determine the number of child looking at the their economic aspirations. Now, so these theories are known as fertility or socio-economic theories of fertility. And these socio-economic theories are of basically broadly two groups, one is social and another one is economic. Yeah, in social theories we have social capillary theory, by Dumont back in 1890, then theory of change and response by Kingsley Davis in 1963, and then theory of diffusion and cultural change, diffusion and cultural change by Carlson, C. Carlson. Anyways, so what these theories tell, these theories talk about the the sociology or the social impact. Social capillary theory says this is a capillary action. The lower, smaller is the family size, the faster will be the movement, upward movement, right? That is the movement towards development, or they will be able to achieve larger level of economic aspirations, yeah, or consumer demand. So social capillary theory says when a when a family realizes that we'll smaller the family size and we can achieve a social height, in terms of economic achievement, then they can opt for this smaller family size. But it is oversimplistic and really doesn't, because the society is so rigid, they don't really change overnight or even over a period of time. So it takes time. So there was the first first theory or related to fertility theories. Then Kingsley Davis talk about the theory of change and response, which is primarily that when a particular community changes with the urbanization, that they see that the number of family size has decreased, so I mean number of death has decreased, so the number of children are increasing, so and we are finding it difficult to manage. So the well of people who are aware, they will decrease the family size, and because they decrease the family size, they uplift themselves in the societal hierarchy, and then slowly this will be looked at and changed. The behavioral pattern will also be changed or transfused towards the underprivileged section, poorer, and then the children. The same is the theory of diffusion and cultural change or cultural lag. That is, first one particular culture or the will of urban rich people change, and then slowly it moves to the poorer people. So these two are theory of change and response, and diffusion and cultural change are almost similar, yeah. Whereas in terms of economic theories, we have prominently three theories. One is Liebenstein's theory, another one is Gary Becker's theory, and then the third one is Caldwell's theory, Easterlin's theory. So we'll discuss one by one. The first one will discuss about Liebenstein's cost utility theory, yeah. So Liebenstein's economic theory of fertility. So what it says that they said that it's a cost utility analysis simply, yeah. So and this cost utility analysis, based on this cost children's number, Liebenstein tries to do a cost utility analysis. He says that children will have two types of costs. One is direct cost and indirect cost, yeah. Whereas children, these are the costs, and the benefits, they will have multiple benefits. Yes, these benefits can be a consumption benefit, the satisfaction. This can be an economic benefit. This can be a security benefit at the elderly and old age and all. So broadly we will keep like this, yeah, 3 benefits. So what we see that, in terms of say if we try to plot them graphically, what we find is this is the development or economic development of the fertility of the family. This is the maybe the number of child, or we'll first keep the cost and benefits, and then the cost increases with the number of child and with the economic development, because the more the children, they will try to invest more and more. So and then this is my consumption benefit. I will just write CB. This is my cost. This is my cost curve, and this is my consumption benefit, which is which remains same, for a poor family and for a rich family, the same kind of benefit for each child they will have. So I mean, the satisfaction, the life, the love, the affection. Yes, what we find is that the economic benefit will come down with the development. Yes, and social benefit should also come down. But it will be higher, because even if they are rich, but they will still depend upon their children at the elderly, because they are psychologically weak, so it can be eventually like this. Not anything, yeah. So or you can, it varies from place to place, or the society to society. You can keep economic benefit like this, and then your social benefit like very close to each other. So it really doesn't matter, and then you will choose whether at which point your cost and benefit are matching, together the total benefits. So this is the social benefit, this is the economic benefit, and then the total cost. So and you will not, with the higher the development, you won't go for the large number of children. You won't increase the child size or the family size. Yeah, that's primarily because your cost is more, you are investing more. When the number of, when your benefit at the lower level of economic development, your benefit is more. The second one is Becker's theory, Gary Becker theory, and he says that it's a quality quantity trade-off. Quality quantity trade-off. So and he assumes that couples behave rationally, and so they are economic agent. Couples have perfect knowledge, children are consumption good, and quantity of children is based upon money invested. That means if I invest a lot of money to get my children educated and for better health, I will keep my number of child limited. So higher the quality, lower is the quantity. If my I don't really want to spend more on the quality of the child, don't want to send them in high big schools, or I don't really want them to educate, and I don't really want to spend for their immunization and all these things, I'm not investing for their better health. That means children are my productive agent, and I don't really bother about the quantity. Quantity will be high. So though lower the quantity, higher the quality. Higher the quantity, lower the quality. That is known as quality quantity trade-off in by Becker. Yeah? So and then the final one is Easterlin's theory, and Easterlin's theory basically talks about the contraception use, and what he says that this is again it's like it depends upon demand of the children, potential supply of children, and actual number of children. So this is CD, this is CN, and this is CA. So if we plot graphically, what we find, this is the, over here, this is the quantity, or this is my demand curve which comes down. So it remains same, and with the development it comes down, and this is my potential supply. So this is my CD. This is my potential supply, which goes up and up, and after a certain while, that is called Hutterite population, it doesn't increase anymore, and this is my actual supply. So I don't have idea about contraception, I don't have idea about the development, so it will go up with the with the supply, and then once I get the knowledge, I get the idea about contraception, it falls down and follow the actual supply. So this is my actual supply, and at the lower level where the demand and supply is high, at the lower level of development, so the total number of children will be here, but at then with the economic development, the total number of children will be here, and then the number of children will be lower. So this is about it doesn't follow with the development. Potential supply is not being followed, it is being followed with the realization, awareness, and use of contraception. They will finally focus upon the actual supply, and where the demand and actual supply will match, and then the actual supply will match the demand, and then slowly it will come down. Yeah, thank you very much. So this is all about our economic development and lecture, and this is the end of this course of health economics. I wish you all the best. Stay happy. Thank you very much.